All right, welcome back to the Black Male Archives. I am your host, Rodney Freeman, and I have with me Omar Rashan. Me and this person, we went to high school together, and but I'm gonna let him tell you about his life and everything. But it's been a long time coming, doing great stuff with the art. So we just want to catch up with him and talk to him and let him share his experience and what he's working with. So Omar, can you tell the people where you from?
Yes. First of all, let me just tell you, thank you for having me. It's an honor to be able to connect with you in this way. You've always been a good friend. I appreciate you for just checking on me, man, and just making sure I'm good. And so,
Yeah,
yeah. To answer your question, I'm from Evansville, Indiana, the southern part of the state. And it's a very unique place to be. Out of all the places in the state of Indiana, Evansville is a very unique place, and for a lot of reasons, because it's the tri-state, and it's a lot of historic history there. As we all know, that's where the Indians settled, and the historic Ohio River is there, and through that, a lot of segregation, a lot of things historically happened, and so yeah. Um, and we met along that journey growing
yeah.
up, being in Evansville, because you originally wasn't from Evansville,
Right.
right? And
Right, right. I was from Chicago. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So when you came in, it was kind of like, you know, it was smooth because we connected on the football field, but
Right.
I know it was kind of challenging even for you because being
Yeah.
new, not
Yeah.
from there, feel like an outsider. But
Yep.
hopefully we made you feel warm and made you feel like family there.
Yeah. Yeah. It was very different for me. I had a experience there because I moved from so many places and everything, and my dad and with his career and stuff. But I'm glad that we had a chance to meet. And when I saw that you were doing art and everything like that, and then the art that you did, and the thing about it, we kind of reconnected back in Indianapolis too, because you started off doing your digital art, and then you got with Tony
Yeah, my yeah.
and doing the meet the artist, which we're gonna get into. But tell me, how did you get into art, and what inspired you to go in this direction?
So for me, my mother and my grandmother was both ceramic artists. They did a lot of
Mm,
ceramics, and growing up, I was around the Asiatic and African culture
mm-hmm,
through that creative space.
mm-hmm,
And my mother, she was a big time doodler.
mm-hmm.
Back then, they used to smoke cigarettes and have you on their lap and doodle and be on the phone, and that's kind of like what it was like being in the '80s. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so through that, my mother, I remember as early as 5, 6 years old, she bought me my first coloring set,
Mm-hmm.
and I just fell in love with colors right off the bat, and just kind of went at it, and just it always led me somewhere in my life, as long as I stayed participating in being creative.
Yeah, and I remember you actually were one of the, and this was a couple years ago, but I remember you actually started off in the digital art space. Can you talk a little bit about that and what that entails?
Yeah, yeah. So now, so basically after high school, I went to college. I became a commercial designer, graphic designer. At this time, graphic design wasn't as popular, and it was really, really traditional, as in it was more hands on.
Mhm,
But it was transitioning into that digital era.
mhm,
And that's been the blessing of how we came up. I
mhm,
mean, we paralleled into this space of analog and digital, so we have a
mhm.
different understanding on the world than the new world, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so, uh, being a visual artist, I just stay consistent. I've always figured out ways to be an artist inside of the commercial design space,
Yeah.
as an entrepreneur. And recently, though, and I think this might be what you're trying to tap into,
Mhm.
is I've been playing in the space dealing with augmented reality. Uh,
Mm,
and so that has to do with a lot of what's going on in the metaverse.
mhm.
And just for people who don't know what augmented reality is, it's really what Nipsey Hussle was on before he died,
Yeah.
um, dealing with how you can communicate differently through your imagery, whether it's through your fashion, through clothes, or through a new way of communicating through art.
Mhm.
And so I've been exploring that space, and I've been really pushing the envelope in how we can use it, how we can use it as business owners, creatives, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah, just trying to lead the way. I can honestly say all of this is new. Nobody knows what the hell they're doing,
Yeah.
and that's okay. You know,
Right. Right.
that's how Apple was made, and a lot of these
Right.
companies formulated through the process of just trying and just getting to know the process.
Yeah, man. Cause yeah, we doing trying to do our stuff with the VR library, and then you doing your stuff with that. So the metaverse is out there, man. What
Yeah.
what you have the title entrepreneur,
Hmm.
dealing with the art and entrepreneurship. Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Is being a businessman too?
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, it- I'll speak from being an African American, being a black artist. Um, the industry wasn't fair to us. You know
Mm-hmm.
what I mean? We've been disfranchised through this process for as long as we can remember, and it still has this weird thing. And it doesn't matter because I always knew that as long as I keep going and as long as I have be a person of integrity,
Mm-hmm.
that opportunities would just literally come to me. And I've always believed in manifestation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so the entrepreneur, and how they really merge is being a creative. I had to learn how to be a salesperson, or learn how to show up in spaces and learn how to have a conversation and be able to articulate what I do
Mm-hmm.
in a space that a lot of people don't really understand, but they see it every day. And
Mm-hmm.
so through that, I've been able to have success financially as an artist and as an entrepreneur, kind of just merging the two.
Mm-hmm.
And it really prepared me for post COVID.
Mm-hmm.
I got joked a lot being a jack of all trades,
Mm-hmm.
and people felt like I was a master of nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really wrong. All I was doing is obtaining experience. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of them went to their job and they obtained it differently. For me, it was exploring, always being uncomfortable, always being in a situation where I was forced to have to step up to the plate and learn something new within the industry,
Yeah.
or take both industries and merge them together and figure out this new world, which is the world that we in right now.
Right, right, man. You are so spot on when you said that. Just being able to gain that experience and then utilize it and apply it to your situation. One of the things that I always and I've been following you for a while. I know that you've actually won some awards, um, and I also want to talk about the Indianapolis. Meet the artist.
Mhm.
But the awards that you won, tell me about some of those awards because those are kind of unique awards too. And I've also seen something like dealing with some sneakers and stuff like that. Can you talk
Yeah.
to us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so like I've won a couple of best of shows.
Mhm.
I've been a part of some honor, some mentions
Mhm.
as far as like next up in situations, I guess. But to be honest, awards mean nothing. These awards mean nothing, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
Because I truly believe that talking about those things only feed the ego, and I'm
Mm.
truly doing God's work. That's why I go
Okay.
by Oh the Creator, because I
Yeah.
truly believe that I'm just a vessel, and my energy and my nature is important
Mhm.
because it illuminates exactly what God needs me to do, and so I try to demonstrate that spiritually.
Yeah.
And art has been definitely a spiritual journey.
Okay.
So I try to walk in a very very humble space because I see a lot of artists even now they get caught up in the awards, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I see them losing a part of themselves because they think that these accolades mean something. And
Yeah.
I learned a long time ago, it don't matter how many degrees you got, because the degrees is only what I mean. It just represents something that you. But if you do the work and you
Yeah.
get the experience in, that you'll surpass anybody with a degree. You just got
Yeah.
to be willing to dive into that thing that you want to be great at, and that's why I've been I'm really a avid person who's really pushing for literacy because I've
Mm-hmm.
found out that being a person who's been dealing with disparities for a long time, that I was underserved in that space, and so I had to make up for a lot of that during my college years, reading. Being an MC has helped me learn how to formulate words and be creative in that space. But knowing my history and implementing that into my art played a significant role too. So I had to go do a little extra work than most of my peers because my family just wasn't pushing education, and I was the first to graduate out of high school and college, just to add in.
Man, tell me about your journey with literacy and reading, man. How was that?
Yeah, so you know, I raised myself at 15. So when we encountered early in high school, I was living on my own, and I remember a
Mhm.
lot of us used to laugh at the fact that I was in that space, and it almost felt like it was a privilege, but it was still a challenge, right? And
Mhm.
so through that, I didn't have a lot of time to read because I was working,
Yeah.
and I had to show up in spaces to become this thing because I was already in a deficit. I was considered one of those kids that was troubled, right?
Mm.
And lived a life of crime, and they put this label on me, but none of it was true. I was just trying to survive, and of course,
Mhm.
being in Evansville was kind of rough at times, and so
Mhm.
it was one of those things like I just sometimes can end up in the wrong places at the wrong time, but
Yeah.
I didn't let that deter me from being who I was destined to be. That my siblings and my ancestors and elders at that time instilled in me. You know what I mean? They always said there was something special about me, so I just would take that and run. So the literacy part, I started realizing because I was working so much, I was
Yeah.
behind, but I was still like it was the weirdest thing. The best way I can explain it, Rodney, is
Mhm.
I would go to class
Mhm.
and I would retain so much information that when
Mhm.
it became testing, I could just do well on the test,
Yeah.
right? But when I started dealing with the disparities in life and the challenges, like I was obtaining, ways to understand how to deal with my emotion, deal with trauma and things like that during that time.
Mhm.
So I noticed that that was impeding on me remembering things after a certain point. So
Yeah.
with my parents not really forced, so my dad was from the South. He didn't really, with him being a first child out of plant, I had an older pop. I had
Mhm.
to have that in there, and he was
Mhm.
older, so he was like a first child out of slavery, and
Mm.
so he dealt with all of the things that you deal with himself. So he didn't. He had a sixth grade education, right?
Mhm.
As long as we was going to school, he was cool with that, and that was just okay, right? But
Yeah.
for some reason, that just didn't make sense for me because I was around other significant individuals that we went to high school with, and I seen how their parents was raising them. I was just like, okay, can't
Yeah.
blame my parents, but it's something I can do. And
Right.
so it was important for me to go to college. Figure
Yeah.
that out. The universe made that possible. And when I went there, I was struck with some challenges, but I just kept pushing, and
Yeah.
I started understanding something remarkable that was taking place, and that was just me connecting all the dots and
Yeah.
just taking time to engulf myself in reading and being curious about things that I didn't have a chance to do because I was in survival mode for so long.
Man, and like I said, we went to high school, but you just never know somebody's story, what they're going through. Like, I mean, man, I did not know all that, and being able to sit here with you today, and just to talk to you about your story, and I'm very appreciative of this opportunity. I want to also talk to you about mentoring. Like, I
Mhm.
know in Meet the Artist, which is a very big event in Indianapolis. I had the privilege of, when I was working at the Indianapolis Public Library, of being on that committee, but also just being able to help preserve some of the wonderful artwork that was there. And I know you and Tony sparked up a relationship. So I wanted just talk to me about how important was it for you to find a mentor in this space, to help you progress your work and your learning on this.
Right, right. And the shout out to you too, Roddy, because I think a big part of what's happening now, all of our brains was kind of moving at the same time, and the work that you did when you was here has really played a big role in what's now about to happen because we have this system now, and a
Yeah,
lot of things are being archived. And I've
yeah,
been
that's good.
teaching this, for a while. Like when I realized that you was behind it, and when I realized how in sync everybody really was, and
Yeah,
the timing was right, I just knew it was divine, right?
yeah,
And Tony had been talking about this for a long time. I was like, Tony, I think it's crazy that we haven't archived Black history in Indianapolis in no
yeah.
shape or form. Which that led me into thinking differently. Like now we have the Black photography show, right? That was
Oh,
that was an idea that I came up with. I
okay.
started realizing historically Black photographers haven't been noticed in
Yeah,
Indianapolis
yeah,
throughout history, right? So that brought that to the art group, and everybody's pushed for it. And now look at it, it's in year 2, going in year 3, and
That's
when
good.
I hear the replies from the photographers, it's been mind blowing. So Tony Radford has been intricate in opening up the arts, as we know, for Black artists, and he's an artist too, but
Yeah.
also teaching us how to navigate in this space of hard politics,
Hmm.
um, and then giving us the emotional strength to say, hey, even though these things go on, you still got to push through, and there's
Yeah.
another level to this that you can manage and control. And when he started talking in that way, I knew exactly what he was talking about. I
Hmm.
was raised around Dr. Ira Neal, Bobby Gold, Pat Carson, some
Hmm.
of the pioneers in my community, and
Hmm.
that's what they was advocating through us for a long time. So he was speaking my language, and
Yeah.
now there's like a collective of us, right? And all of us carry that same energy, and we're trying to push other African American artists through the same pipeline. And it's not only just Tony Radford, it's Bruce Armstrong, it's Sandra Holiday, she goes by Majisa. These are
Hmm.
elders, these are pioneers in our community that don't get enough recognition, but they played such a significant role in the history of arts, and even some of their siblings as well.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's powerful. It brought up another question that I want to ask you about as far as black art and black ownership.
Mhm.
Um, what is that like? Making sure that you guys own your artwork, and what do you? I guess where do you fall on that? What's your thoughts?
I think it's so important. Historically, we already know there's a lot of institutions who have all of this artwork archived, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't even see the light of it. And then some
Right.
of it important history. I think right now we're in a space right now we can document this every step of the way,
Yeah.
from the time that we create the piece, from the time that it get its final gloss finish on it to when it hits the gallery floor to when
Hmm.
it actually gets sold, right? So that's
Hmm.
the beauty in being where we at. This documentation can happen, and then not even that, we have systems like that you have helped develop, and now we can archive this, and that's where that level of like, yeah, this person did do this. Look, we can
Hmm.
go back 1996, this person did it, and it's there, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's why this is so important. That's why these conversations are so valuable, because we have a system in place now that now we can, I mean, for some people, bragging rights. For some people, to get history right, right?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we know through COVID and through that Black Lives Matter
Yeah.
thing, right? When that went on, that was important to archive that. And
Yeah.
historically, we're going to see a lot of things that we didn't see. That
Yeah.
diversity inclusion thing, that didn't
Yeah.
last long. And historically, we're going to be able to see that, right?
Right. Right.
So that's the games. They can play whatever game they want to play. But historically, as long as we create art and do it in the time, being present with it, it's going to
Yeah.
always reveal the truth. And that's what I love about art.
Yeah, man, you were speaking so much, man. It's so much that you talking about that. I'm like, yes, yes. But saying this, I did come up with the thing about. I want to ask you about your feelings around NFTs
Mhm.
and what how do you feel and what do you see right now we see how they're being used as the platforms where people are just making them and selling them, but
Right.
what do you see for the future of NFTs? I think it could be more than that, but that's my thoughts. But what are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Um, Let me just say I haven't sold one yet. I'm really looking forward to being hitting hitting that little mark of being like, man, I officially sold an NFT.
Okay.
Part of it is I haven't really pushed it, but I'm in these spaces where I have a few NFTs listed.
Hmm.
I think it's really about building a portfolio in that space.
Hmm.
But the reason why I'm kind of excited, it reminds me of the era when we used to do trading cards, baseball
Yeah.
cards, and
Yeah.
bat. So that's fun to me. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I've always been a nostalgia collector in a certain sense, right?
Yeah.
And being the person who played baseball and really loved the game,
Yeah.
um, it just brings back those old memories. And so here's the thing: it gives everybody the opportunity to get a piece of history too if they really
Hmm.
follow artists. They get a chance to be a part of an amazing experience. For me and my brother, we have a company called Elevated Culture. Part of that framework that you're speaking on is going to be implemented into that. So when you buy one of our NFTs, you'll have access to get certain things that the public won't have access to.
Mm-hmm.
When we throw events, if you have one of our NFTs, if it fits within the streamline of this, you'll get access to that. We have our own wine company now, so we're looking at partnerships of certain venues that say, hey, if anybody come in here with this NFT, let them get a free glass of wine of
Yeah.
of the Renendo, because
Yeah.
this is part of this connected to the NFT. So
Yeah.
we're streamlining those type of things because we know we can see where this thing can go. And this is about leverage, right? This is about
Mm-hmm.
building something up that has so much value that your children can benefit from this in a way because of the work that you do right now. And so, like I said, all of this is new. We all learning, but
Yeah.
it's about sharing information and us getting to a place to where, hey, let's collaborate on this project.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
and just see
Yeah.
where it goes. But man, it's fun, it's exciting. Um, a lot of the products that I'm gonna be coming out with in 2023 will be backed by an NFT through the experience and through our metaverse that we're trying to build as well. Which we're gonna be in the. I don't know. Have you heard of 16 Tech here in Indy?
No, I have not. I have not. Tell
Yeah,
me
yeah,
about that. Tell me about
yeah.
Tell me about your projects and what you guys are working on.
Yeah, so 16 Tech got some really amazing things going on over there. I'm actually a part of the street team, and the Sabeko, he's leading the way over there. And what's going on is the area that I live in, which is the area code of 46208 in Hogville, that Hogville area.
Yeah.
16 Tech, which is amphitheater, have
Mhm.
now planted a seed, right? And I know a
Mhm.
lot of people are against it, um, which I can understand why. But at the end of the day, I know historically things are going to continue to move forward. So it's either you kind of figure out how we can leverage what we have
Yeah.
and use that to our advantage to empower our people. And I
Mhm.
think well, what they doing over there with the Flanner House, I think they figured out how to make those things work. So it's like, okay, if you're going to be in the neighborhood, so much of the taxes need to go back into the community in some type of way because we have this community has been disfranchised, and
Mhm.
you are building something in our community, right? That
Mhm.
can ultimately help us if
Yeah.
everybody look at the partnership right, utilize or use the grants or use funding right, then
Mhm.
we can make the community, we can empower the community. And
Right.
that's part of what they over there doing. Um, they're trying to educate people on the opportunity this is going on over there. They got different grants. Like right now, there's a grant that you can get and apply for if you live in a neighborhood. You can get up to 25,000, just as
Mhm.
an entrepreneur, however you want to put it,
Yeah.
and take advantage of that with a
Yeah.
good idea. They will support that. And that's the type of thing that 16 Tech is over there doing. They're trying to make sure they be a part of this next innovation thing
Mhm.
and from what I'm hearing, in these meetings and these conversations, just so the black community can have understanding, Indianapolis wants to be the next tech city in the Midwest. From here to Louisville, there's a lot of conversation in creating this. That's what the whole highway and that gateway to from here to Louisville. That's what that's all about. This
Mhm.
is a they recognize some things that happen in Silicon Valley, but they
Mhm.
also recognize what we can do here. And as soon as Salesforce bought that tower and put that up, that was the beacon, that was the bat symbol. So a
Yeah.
lot of us who are not in the tech space, we didn't recognize that. But for
Mhm.
some of us who was, which I was, I had a
Mhm.
blessing to be one of my buddies who went to IU and he's from South Bend.
Mhm.
He's a big part of how Salesforce ended up here. He
Yeah.
was at the top of the food chain, and the work that he put in and the stuff that they was doing behind the scenes helped elevate where we at now. And I just say I'm moving towards the tech space. I'm doing
Mhm.
the books. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I've always been a person who wanted to write books, and a lot of my friends like you have inspired me to want to step. My brother, he's wrote 2 books. He
Yeah.
inspired me, and I'm a part of a group called MU Manifest University, and there's a lot of amazing authors that's going on and that's creating in that space too.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's really about figuring out how to for me let me just say that for me it's
Yeah.
really about figuring out how to merge the two, which I think I have with tech and art and
Yeah.
even music. You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
all coexist in some way.
Man, Omar, this has been great, man. Just getting to talk to you and kind of see the awesome stuff that you got planned, and just being able to, I mean, have memories of you back in high school, and then now see you here, and, both of us. So I'm just glad that we had a chance to talk. Before we depart, though, can you tell the listeners about some of your upcoming exhibits, or where they can follow you on social media?
Yeah. So you can definitely follow me under Omar Rashan. That's Omar Rashan Rashan. And I go by O the Creator. You can find me through that. You can Google me, it'll pull up. And then the latest exhibit, I'm curating an exhibit right now called Universal Drip. It's at the Central Library of Indianapolis, Indiana. It's featuring me, Gary G, Quasar, um, Michi Shakur, and Fanger Creations, which is you go by Kenneth. Um, and so yeah, man, it's a lot of and did I say Gary G and Tony Radford too? My fault.
Yeah.
And T Rad. And so it just happened to come together in that way. And so this is my second year curating this. My show at the Central Library. I have the honor to do another year. So, and then I'm at the Indiana Landmarks right now, showing in a 3D show, and I'm part of Flavor Fresh, which is a show that will continue for the rest of the year as well.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. This is really good, man. I'm glad that we had a chance to connect. I want to definitely continue the conversation, because I definitely can see some collaboration with the metaverse and all of that good stuff. So, man, thank you so much again for being on the Black Male Archives, where we capture, curate, and promote positive stories about Black men, which you are one of. Thank you, Omar, for being on the podcast.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for everybody that's listening. Thank you, Rodney, for having me. It's been an honor, my brother.
Thank you. Same here. All right.